Is the beam weapon completed?
Yes, Admiral Zarin. We are ready to deploy the weapon.
Excellent. Begin arming my fighter squadrons at once.
Yes, sir.
Here at Endor, all preparations are ready for the rebel attack. Soon, they will realize the full futility of resisting my will. Grand Admiral Thrawn, you must bring your hunt for the renegade Zarin to its final conclusion. Do not fail me now.
Yes, Emperor Palpatine. I have studied Zarin's ways closely. He will not resist the bait that I have laid out for him. Soon he too will meet his end.
Excellent. Once Zarin and the rebels are destroyed, our victory will be complete.
We are here to honor one who has served the Empire.
Prepare to join the secret order of the Emperor.
Good evening, everyone. Sound check. Hopefully you can hear me. I did always test beforehand and seemed good, so hopefully you can hear me. Hello, party people. Okay, I'm just making sure everything's working. Not getting any response. I'm just assuming you can hear me. If not, please let me know. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to show you basically how the rebalance has been going. I made an announcement. No, you can't hear me. Is that true? Input capture is working, unless you're fucking with me. Good, you're fucking with me. Right, so yes, rebalance. Been going through a lot. I've finally got all the stuff implemented. So every single ship, station, starship, and platform has had a balance pass of some kind or another. And I made an announcement a few days ago showcasing that and making public my mirror board, which, as you can see, can take quite a while to load. Because it's massive. If you haven't seen this yet, the link is in the Discord server. But yes, this is now complete. I have every ship. Everything is laid out and done, and I can now modify this easy. This was quite a bit of epic work to do. This took 3 months to build. I got a lot of documentation now, so I'm quite happy with that. And all of this has been implemented in the various INI files, which you've seen before. Looks like this. And so, yeah, now it's been a case of structuring the first battle. So all 6 missions of Battle 1 have now had a full balance pass under this new balance regime. So far, the feedback's been pretty good. I've had, as I said, a small cadre of testers who have been very helpful in spotting bugs, suggestions, things they like, things they don't like. And that's all been going very, very well. So let's not sit on a blank grey screen. Let's just sit on there. There. It's very laggy. Please don't try and load this on a mobile phone because it will crash. Or it just won't load at all. This is for a desktop because it's so massive. But yeah. So we zoom right in. You can see all the numbers. I've shown this before, but yeah. The differences in the red and the greens is basically the difference between Rebalance and TFTC 1.3.4. So those are the number differences. Well, at least for the most part, anyway. So yes, but yeah, all of Battle 1 has been redone to some degree or another. Some cases quite a bit, in other cases not so much. One of the things I've been doing is trying to make the flow of the battles, missions themselves, feel better. Making the combat feel a bit more dynamic. And this is just me basically going all the way back to when I started TFTC, because Battle 1 is where I started. And those missions haven't changed too much since 1.0. I think Battle 1 Mission 6 is the one that's changed the most. Battle 1 Mission 2 is a difficult mission, and it's often been criticized as a pretty harsh spike in difficulty for a player as well, especially if you're fairly new to the series. So, yeah, I've basically gone back and kind of applied the lessons I've learned in mission building as I've gone forward to make what I hope is a better experience. And that's often so far, gutting the current combat of some of these missions and remaking it, which has taken less time than you might think. But these aren't the big epic battle missions of later Reimagined, so to be fair, there's not so much to do. But yeah. I think it was about a month ago now, I posted a video showcasing Battle 1 Mission 2 with the TIE Fighter and the TIE Interceptor. And that was the old mission. So I've now completely redone it. And it operates in a more or less the same way, sort of, but there's several clear phases and progression to the battle now. And I think it's much better overall. So I'm going to play some of these missions and hopefully get an idea. I'm going to talk about and showcase all the primary fighters that I've done. Yes, Shad, I always had difficulty. I think a lot of people had difficulty with those 2 missions. Battle 1 Mission 5, I think, was the worst, because you start off well enough, but then towards the end, you just end up getting completely swarmed because all your allies are dead as well. So yeah, I always remember that being really, really tough. I think they only had normal concussion missiles, I want to say. Excuse me. I think I've got TIE Fighter installed. Let's have a look. Is it under Steam? No. I've got a new computer, you see, so I haven't actually reinstalled TIE Fighter. But anyway, not going to bother. But I'm pretty sure it's concussion missiles. So, where should we start? I'm going to give you a brief rundown of what each ship is going to do now. Let me have just a look. Yep, get my reference notes, and I'll go through this quickly as well. So, the TIE Fighter. The spray and pray basic fighter, it fires rapidly. It can lay down continuous fire for a pretty decent amount of time. And then just to recharge, you take a few seconds and you're fully back up to full power. Pretty low damage output, but it's great for sort of screening, breaking up formations of fighters, and intercepting torpedoes at short range, at least. And you get a pack of TIE fighters, because they fire quite rapidly, the damage is cumulative quite quickly, so that they do a lot of damage in packs. That's what I'm trying to emphasize there. That. Next to the TIE Interceptor. My initial attempt at this one wasn't so successful, but now I think I've got a good baseline for it. So this is kind of the opposite of the TIE Fighter now. This is speed and precision. Your speed is significantly tied to your damage output. So that even the base damage is fairly high, which is actually the base vanilla amount of damage on the high power shot anyway. But it has a 500% damage modifier to your speed, which, when applied at its new maximum top speed, adds an extra 14.5 hit points of damage on top of your normal shot. Quad link that, then you're basically doing, what's that, 78.5 hit points of damage in a single shot. That's enough to one-shot a lot of the weaker fires in quad damage. But it relies on you going at your base top speed, which, as you can see, I've increased for the Interceptor. So the Interceptor is actually a bit faster now. The speed difference when you change your laser energy is also fairly minimal. So at maximum charge, you only drop a small amount, and then at minimum charge, you only go up a small amount as well. So it's not too fast, but it can't go too slow either, as it were. It also has very high acceleration, but very poor deceleration. So you have a tendency to overshoot your target. So the emphasis being you hone in on your target, and you get some good shots lined up, and you can pretty much kill any, even up to heavy fighters or something like transports, in one volley if you're good enough. But if you think about it, if you miss and then you try and get behind them, you have to slow down significantly because they're much slower than you, and you end up applying far less damage. So your time to kill might actually be longer if you slow down to get behind them. So it's a shoot and scoot kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to aim for. Let's have a quick look at comments. Was there always a speed? Yes, there was. This speed damage modifier is in the base game. By default, it's 100% for everything. So the way that works, let me find the calculation. Got to zoom out slowly. Over here. Zoom out again because it's so big. Speed damage. Where are you? Speed range. There we go. Speed, power percent. Power plus speed equals total power. So yeah, an additional damage modifier is applied to all weapon types when firing at speed. The faster your ship moves, the more additional damage applied. Example, 400 power, which is 4 hit points, plus 225 speed, which is the raw amount of speed the game uses, which is miles per hour, which translates to 100 meters a second, or the game's MGLT, is basically an extra 2.25 hit points of damage. That's how that calculation works out. But with the new profiles, I can change that modifier to any level of percent, and I'm going to show that with the missile boat, but we'll get to that. Oh god, this thing is unwieldy to actually navigate through. Once you zoomed in, it's not too bad. It's the zooming out that's the bad part. But anyway, where were we? Interceptor. Any more questions? It's fairly hard to notice in game. I mean, it's a fairly negligible damage amount, and I don't think it's in the original TIE Fighter. I think this is only an X-Wing Alliance thing. I could be wrong. It could be an X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Someone like Random Starfighter or L Phoenix can probably tell me. So it could be that's just an X-Wing Alliance mechanic. But it's something I can factor in now, because eventually I'm going to have to come to Classic and make sure that that matches Classic firepower as closely as possible. But that's a story for another time. So where are we? Oh yes, there is the Royal Guard version of the TIE Interceptor, and you might have noticed the Mining Guild version. These are basically profile variants. So this is just kind of an in-between the Advanced and the Interceptor, and you will get to fly this once, yes. The TIE Bomber. Not many people enjoy the TIE Bomber, me being one of them. So I have tried to do my best to make it fun-ish, I guess. We will showcase the TIE Bomber mission. So basically, I've doubled its base capacity of missiles, warheads basically. It can fire its weapons faster, so, you know, more rapid rate of fire for launches. I've done this across the board for most of the ships, in fact, because I just feel that makes it a little bit more fun to play with warheads. It has very long range for its weapons, so the TIE Fighter and the Interceptor have less than 2 kilometer ranges. The TIE Fighter's even worse, but the TIE Bomber can reach pretty high ranges, which means it can stand off. It doesn't have to get in close range of a capital ship if it doesn't need to. And it's got pretty powerful weapons. This does, remember the TIE Interceptor was 4 hit points per shot? This is 8 hit points per shot, but it also fires slower. the Interceptor fires at 6 shots a second, this fires at 4 shots a second, so the DPS actually ends up kind of being the same. But it's a poor dogfighter and it's slow. I have increased its speed very slightly, though I may not have updated the stats on this. This is the thing, I make so many changes that sometimes I forget to make changes to the mirror board, so let me just double check my logic here. TIE Bomber. Where's your speed? Oh, I didn't. Okay, so I must have set it back to 80 at some point. I know I set it to 85, and then I must have got feedback that it wasn't as good a change, so I put it back to 80. Maybe it's the speed percent. Yeah, this is what I increased. The speed factor is fairly uniform in vanilla, so vanilla is every pip you put in or out, it changes your speed by 12%. That's the fairly standard. The exception is the TIE Bomber and one other ship I can't remember right now, but the TIE Bomber has a 6% speed factor, I think it was. So it was even slower. So I changed that. So you can get a bit more speed out of the bomber if you really want to. It's also a bit more tanky, slightly, than its original variant. But otherwise, it should be a bit more interesting gameplay for it. You can definitely melt a fighter with it, but you need to use your range. So when they're coming head on to you, you've got some time to try and snipe them before they get to you. So that's that. The gunboat hasn't changed too much, to be honest. I kind of applied the same logic to the gunboats. I have the bomber, so it has greater range, but also obviously has a bit more firepower. This has 10 hit points per shot, but its ions are fairly weak. This is actually weaker than the vanilla ion cannon. You can still link the shots. That's great. Another thing I've shifted quite a bit across all fighters is their shield recharge rates. So the gunboat takes 45 seconds roughly to charge its shields to 100% from 0%, which is a lot faster than vanilla, but it's still slow enough that you might have to go back and get some breather room. The gunboat is definitely faster. I made it 5 meters a second faster. Increased warhead capacities as well. So again, I've had good feedback that people have said it feels fun to fly for the first time. So that's good. So, TIE Advanced. I did show this briefly off last time. This is probably the ship I've done the most changes to, and I'm very curious to see how it's going to be received. So far, I've received very good feedback, but it was also the one that probably took the most to get right. It was finding a sweet spot. I knew what I wanted to try and do with it, and that was a shotgun approach. So I've purposely locked this ship to quad fire only. It can only fire 4 lasers at a time, but look at this fire rate. So you can fire 5.8 quad shots per second, so it's slightly faster than vanilla single shot firing, if you see what I mean. If this was to fire single shot mode, it'd be 23.5 shots a second. So it has a very rapid fire and a rapid energy discharge, but a slower rate of recharge, obviously. And also, it has a unique feature for these fighters. If I get the advanced up. Yeah. So I've played around with because I can now, the amount of energy you can transfer between weapons and shields. And so you can't actually transfer a lot of energy to your shields anymore from the lasers, even though it's quite fragile. It's not an effective strategy to keep your shields up. It's much faster to just keep your shields at maximum recharge, because in 15 seconds you're back to 100%. But you're still quite fragile as well. Very, very weak shields, weak hull. But also there's this lovely little feature. It's this one. Energy high-low separation. All this means is that I can change the amount of energy in the high pool and the low pool. And all I've done is basically put most of the energy into the high power pool. So when you finally exhaust that power, your low energy just goes instantly to 0. And then it takes a couple of seconds, no more than that. It's just a very brief, call it a cooldown, where you cannot fire. So like a second and a half, you have to wait for it to just charge up, and then you can fire again. So it's trying to encourage you to still be careful with your shots, but at the same time, because your shields recharge quite quickly, you can afford to dump energy into your weapons to keep the fire rate going at the expense of your defense. But in a pinch, you can throw everything back into engines. So I'm really trying to make the energy management game interesting, as well as making you feel godlike when you're flying it, because it will be very, very maneuverable, more so than it is now, and have a lot of very high burst DPS. And I will showcase this. Need a drink. Non-alcoholic drink. So yeah, that's the Avenger, or Advanced. What's left? TIE Defender. And the Missile Boat. So, is it still OP? Yes. Did I make it more OP? Yes, I did. So it has very high damage output, a bit less than the Gunboat, but it can fire faster than the Gunboat, so it actually ends up doing a lot more DPS. It has an extremely powerful shield compared to most of the other fighters. Basically, the B-Wing is the only thing that comes close, but I've essentially doubled its shield strength. Still very fragile hull-wise, so once those shields collapse, it's very easy to kill. Max recharge the shields at 60 seconds, so it takes a while, but considering that tank, you know. So I want to make the Defender what it's basically supposed to be. It's a super fighter, and I think the only live action it's been presented in is Rebels, and it was presented pretty accurately there, I feel. That they just couldn't do much to the Defender, and it was wrecking everything. You're not going to face a lot of these, and in the narrative of TIE Fighter, there are very few of these craft. So to me, it makes sense that we make them very, very powerful, because you're not going to face many of them, and when you do have them on your side, you're not going to have many of them. So I want them to be able to tip the scale of a fight, but not overwhelm you in a fight, if that makes sense. So, fun to fly. And then finally the Missile Boat. Oh, sorry, one more thing before I go on the TIE Defender. I disabled your ability to link your lasers and ions together. I wanted to do that deliberately because if you look at the ions are really powerful. My initial idea with the Defender was to make the ion cannons like a super sniper. So they would do like 100 hit points of damage and instantly disable craft, but it would have a very long reload time. That didn't work out, and there's a bug with the engine which basically means if you fired and then switched your lasers are affected by the same cooldown period, so you can't fire for several seconds. So it makes for very frustrating, annoying gameplay. So I scrapped that idea, but I still wanted it to have very powerful ion cannons as a sort of compensation for the fact that you're not being able to link your weapons. So you can actually achieve quite a high DPS even with ions, more than most of the other ships, but not as much as your lasers. So, and I know I also toyed with the idea of removing the ion cannons entirely and just having 6 lasers instead, and then splitting it into a dual launcher system so it always could carry ion pulse warheads, which are basically ion cannon warhead form. But that didn't work out either, so I went with this, basically just making it more OP. So, Missile Boat. The ship cannot transfer energy between lasers and shields and vice versa. This is a very deliberate choice, so you will not be able to shunt any energy. I've got to stop doing that. You will not be able to shunt any energy one way or the other. So how can you reinforce your slam or your shields and whatnot? That's very important. The slam drive uses the laser energy in order to function, and what I discovered when I was trying to play with this is that the recharge rate affects the slam's discharge rate. So the less energy per second you get for charging lasers, the more you'll actually get out of your slam system. So it just inverts that number. So this actually worked out. So if I set the discharge rate of each laser shot to be the minimum possible number. Each laser bank has 128 points of energy, so that's 128 shots it can fire before it's completely discharged. It's a lot of shots. 8 shots a second, so my maths is terrible, but that's what, 12, 13, 14 seconds of continuous fire easily. But it also means you can run your slam drive for about a minute at that discharge rate. So If your laser energy that's set to maximum recharge, that is. It's less if it's less, only 3 pips. So it forces you, and the recharge rate for the lasers will end up being about a minute as well. So it discharges in a minute and recharges in a minute. So it's forcing you to decide now between, do you want to use your lasers defensively, or do you want to use your speed defensively or offensively, as is the case may be, as I'll show you, to make that interesting. You will not be able to have any beam weapons. I will not narratively allow beam weapons on a missile boat because it's overpowered. People just tend to use it as a free speed boost, and I can't control that number properly. So I think with this way, if we just argue that the slam drive is occupying the space that would normally be for a beam system, I think that's narratively acceptable. And it allows me to do the gameplay I want. Obviously, the ship has 2 warhead systems, so that's 4. I've given it very generous capacities. It can do a lot of damage. But going back to the speed damage applied, I've made the missile boat take advantage of that. So if we have a look at space bombs, for example, yes, that is a 100,000% damage bonus from your speed. But I've done this with most of the other warheads as well. Most of the other ships do not get this damage bonus. I removed it from missiles. I think torpedoes get it slightly, but nowhere near like this. I want the missile boat to really take advantage of this mechanic to make it more interesting in gameplay. So, yeah, the base damage of the space bomb is now 2,500 hit points. Launched at the base speed of the missile boat, which is now 140 meters a second. That's about 20-ish meters a second faster. I'm giving you some speed after taking away the tractor beam, okay? I'm throwing you a bone here. But yeah, at base speed, it adds an additional 3,150 damage to that 2,500 damage. And then if you throw it at slam speed, 6,300 hit point damage added on top of it. So you're basically doing almost 9,000 hit points of damage if you throw a space bomb at slam speed. 2 of those bombs will kill a Victory Star Destroyer at that speed. They are your nukes now. I made space bombs great. They were never great again, so they're just great now. So you see the same same principles kind of apply to the rockets, but on a far lower scale. But yeah, same principle. And yeah, it fires also faster rates as well. So this thing can fire missiles 3 shots a second, but the missiles don't last nearly as long. So yeah, those are the 7 mainline fighters and my overall changes to them. So now that I've rambled and bored your ears off, I think it's time we have a go with them, don't you think? So let's turn off my music. Minimize that. Oh, yes. You're also going to get to see the high definition concourse. So enjoy. Okay, welcome to the high definition TFTC concourse. This was created several months ago. The reason I did not implement it in 1.3.4 or since is because there were performance issues. Okay. So performance issues. So these animations were on my old system, really slow, and then transitioning between rooms took quite a few seconds. Even on my new PC, the transition time was like 2 or 3 seconds between rooms, which is a lot. But yeah, this was not playing smoothly. So a couple of weeks ago now, our resident wizard expert basically changed the compression method of these images and animations, so that when the game reads and decompresses them, now it's using the GPU and not the CPU, which is obviously much faster. So performance issue solved. So let's have a quick look in the ignore the giant thing here. That's because I've skipped to far too many missions, and so that's a bug thing. But yeah, this is what your pilot stream looks like now. Got your medals. Obviously your tattoo would go here if I had any. This is all done by UAL002, and he has done a absolutely fantastic job, in my opinion. So yeah, you'll get to enjoy that. There's also new animations and so forth. So let's go to the simulator. So I've got simulated parts. There is a bug here with the placement of where the game thinks the doors are. So it thinks the multiplayer door's here and the single player door's here. Hopefully we can overcome this problem. So I occasionally end up clicking on the multiplayer one, but let's see what happens when we click on the single player one. There you go. Got some nice high definition images of the battles. This only goes up to battle 7 so far. As far as these HD images go, these were done by ForceFlow, being rendered using our models in Blender and with some nice lighting effects. And then you can see the original ones for comparison in how the game used to look. So there's this, and now it looks like this. It's beautiful. You see the fonts are all changed. If we go to the escape menu, you can see that more clearly. So yeah. What else? That's the escape button. I don't want to do that again. I need to exit. One thing I have said to, I'm not a huge fan right now of the buttons. I don't think the buttons are clear enough as to what their purpose is. I get that he's done it for lore and realism purposes, but in my opinion, the UI should serve a more practical function and be understandable to the player. Not everyone's going to be versed in Arabesh or what these icons necessarily mean. You got tooltips, I know, but I don't want to make it frustrating for people either. I think the film room has its own animation. Here we go. This is where you, if you recorded an in-flight film, this is where you come and have a look at it. I've got one there. That's from a tester. What about the tech room? Oh, there's a tech library here, so we can just have a look here. Nice. There is one for the campaign room as well, but I don't actually have a campaign open right now. So, but there is its own animation. So, yeah, I'm not going to go there. So, I think I will play Battle 1 Mission 2 first, so we can get a feel for our TIE Fighter now. It hasn't changed too much from the last time I actually did this demonstration of the TIE Fighter, but you'll at least get to see what the mission looks like now. If you're familiar with the mission, this should be noticeable relatively quickly. I say relatively quickly. Maybe about halfway through the mission it should be fairly clear that things are going a bit differently. Let's see. Now, normally I don't play with the cockpit on because I like to see my field of view, but just for you guys, I will play with the cockpit on for immersion's sake. So before, this mission was more chaotic. Now it has 4 distinct phases. First, we will get the initial arrival of Z95s and Y-Wings, just like before, except this time the Y-Wings are escorted by 4 X-Wings. Those X-Wings will break off to engage you, and the Y-Wings will continue to D34. So let's... yeah, I've got 2 Z95s going for me, so yeah, before the Z95s did not go for you, now they do. Z95s. What have I done with the Z95? The Z95 is locked to dual fire. You can see, because it's always firing dual lasers. I kind of make it like a TIE Fighter. Oh, I might die here already. Yeah, there we go. It's basically like a TIE Fighter, but with shields. But they're kind of comparable to each other in terms of the damage output. Right, let's go have a go at the Y-Wings, maybe. Where are they? There they are. Right, so there they are. You can see they're actually firing more torpedoes than before. That's intentional. But you can see also the corvettes engaging them, and the station itself will engage them pretty well as well. This attack will be ineffective, and that's intentional. after this initial bunch of Y-wings are destroyed, eventually a second group will arrive, and they will instead now target the corvette. I'm being attacked again. Yeah, they will instead go for the corvette, and along with those Y-wings will be 2 corvettes, which will also attempt to engage the corvette. So this shifts the defense away from D-34, because this is basically, okay, the rebels have done an initial attack, and that's failed, and they've now adjusted their tactics because they need to deal with our corvette first before they try and throw more firepower at the station. Once the corvette is destroyed... am I disabled now? Oh, no. As long as I don't get attacked again, I've got engines in 7 seconds. I did not get fully disabled. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Alright. All powder engines. Let's just get some speed. I can't move yet. Anyway, once that corvette is destroyed, the remaining corvettes will arrive, as will another big wave, a full squadron of Y-wings, 12 of them, along with more X-wings for escort, and then a bunch of Magari X-wings will also arrive, and they will all go for the station, including the corvettes. And that's going to be the critical point. Now, because I got disabled, I'm not actually sure where we are in the battle right now. Okay, so the initial group of Y-wings is still alive. I might have invulnerability on, because I feel like I should be dead already. Yeah, I got 1% hull, so I'm kind of cheating, guys. Right, so what have we got? Have corvettes arrived yet? No. It's assuming... Okay. So the corvette should arrive any moment. There's usually a small delay between the next phases. So you can go back to the furball if you want. New craft 6 Y-wings. There they are. Right, so this group's purpose will be to go for the other corvette, our corvette. I have toned down the corvettes a little bit because I felt they were a bit too powerful. So here we go. Let's see how effective this torpedo barrage will be. What I have noticed, interestingly, is that the AI will only launch as many torpedoes as it needs to. So you saw how many torpedoes it launched at D-34. It's only launched 7 there, because that's the number required to kill the corvette. Interesting. And the corvette's defending itself pretty well. But it's now engaged in a proper battle with the other 2 corvettes. Juno's giving it what for? I'm sorry, I'm going to turn the cockpit off for now, so you can get a better look. There you go. Got hit by a torpedo, its shields are down. Let's break off. Hey, look, you can see my damage. And there goes the Juno. Another thing that's a factor now is shield regeneration in starships and stations. So, in order to basically stop you one-shotting or soloing big ships, oh, here we go. Now we need to actually deal with this nonsense. This is where torpedoes might need to be intercepted, but only for this last short period. So there we go. Now we've got the other corvettes coming in. So yeah, shield regeneration. In most fighters, you won't be able to out-damage the shield regeneration. It'll be too high. So yeah, DPS is going to be a factor in overwhelming a shield's regeneration, and different ships have different recharge rates. When a shield collapses, the recharge rate will stop for a certain amount of time, say anywhere between a few seconds to a few minutes, and then the shield regen will kick back in again. So there's an incentive there, for example, to try and stop any damage being applied to a ship or station that's lost its shields, so it can start recharging again and gain some tank back. %1 hull, come on. Right, how are we doing? How's D34 doing? She's full shields, the Corvettes are starting to get in range. There we go, look at that. That is a lot of torpedoes. But you can see we've got some nice interception ability now with the Interceptor, the fighter. D34 is fairly capable of doing this itself as well. You can see it's already intercepting quite a few of those on its own. A few got through. There you go. See, shields dropped a little bit. We've already got loads more coming in. And you don't need to worry about your weapons doing any damage to the station, because it can't. The station won't feel this too much. Oh boy. Alright, that should be it. I think these guys have expended all their warheads. There aren't any more subsequent ways. You just need to defeat this one last big attack. So there you go, you can see the flow, its shields have collapsed, and I might not win here because we've got all these Y-wings. It's gonna die. I spent too long fucking about. There you go. Let's see how soon the cavalry arrives. There you go, the cavalry just arrived. But anyway, that's the final 4th phase. The cavalry arrives and saves the day. Yeah. Shh. Let me have a look, see. Have no game sound. Could be because my desktop audio is not that high. Oh yeah, I muted desktop audio, didn't I? At least you could hear me. There'd just be no music. Got to remember that for next time. Yes, I forgot the shuttle inspection as well, but mostly I just wanted to show you how different that was. Right,
Swing starfighters attacking D30.
Hopefully you can hear the audio now. So let's have a look at our first bomber mission. This is where we stop the rebels and Magari from making a cargo transfer. This mission is super easy in 1.3.4, ridiculously easy. It pretty much plays itself. So I wanted to change that. Let's see how it goes. The loading bar is broken, yes. Oh, another thing we can do now. I can't zoom in. I realise the text is really small, but I can't bring up the interface. You can see there's number brackets on the weapons. You have an ammo counter in the hangar now. You cannot reload infinitely in the hangar anymore. You will have a set ammo count of different types of warheads in certain missions. So for example, you've got 14 spare torpedoes and you have 50 missiles. So if you wanted to, you can come and load some missiles on your craft. I'm giving you that ability to do that now. Whereas before I restricted that in Reimagined because of infinite reloading, which allows you to cheese the mission. Right, let's have a look. I'm going to keep the cockpit off this time, so you can get a good look. So, let's see how we get on here. Doesn't look too different so far. But I've always loved this visual of seeing all the fighters and interceptors go ahead of you while you've got your bomber buddies in behind. So yeah, we're just going to watch the initial combat. While they deal with that, we can go towards our target. Nice and easy. Quite a gentle mission, especially after the intensity of the last one. But oh, what's this? And I love the faster hyperspace effect. What have we got? We've got an enemy corvette. So we've got some of the AI will go for the corvette. Our own group will continue to concentrate on the freighters. You can see how the initial furball's going now. It's less of a death ball and more of an even spread of combat, spread across several kilometers. There we go, here's our first volley off at the corvette. Now the corvette is not using starship behavior, it's actually using fighter behavior. You can tell because its movements are slightly jittery. I found this works quite well for corvette-sized craft overall, as long as it's just one of them, maybe two. If you get two of them doing it, they all start... It becomes very obvious that they're not behaving like they should. So doing it with one works, so this makes the corvette's behavior a lot more dynamic. It's flying around on its own, it's targeting its what it wants, but it still behaves in a similar way. You can see it's intercepting torpedoes, it's firing at other targets. But you need to deal with this corvette now. Otherwise you might end up having less bombers. So that's... This also means it's harder to hit dumb firing, because it's not following a predictable pattern. So let's try this. You can see there, I just fired 3 torpedoes off in rapid succession, and I'm dead because I wasn't paying attention. Okay, cool, that's dead. Now we can go for the freighters. I'm still in the process of testing this mission because I reduced the amount of time it takes for the freighters to actually respond. So let's give these guys 4 torpedoes. Let's see if they'll break past the defences. Yeah. Nice. Let's try to get these guys as well. Only got 2 torpedoes left. I don't have enough firepower to... Okay. Come on. Alright, 1 left. About 2 left, rather. And there we go. They're easily killed. But it can just as easily go the other way if you don't deal with the corvettes soon enough. This mission also had a lot of transports and shuttles to begin with. Those would just try and attack the fogger. They're now actually going to attack all the fighters. As you noticed there, we got attacked by transport. So it's a more dangerous mission, it's not as easy. Yes, that is the TIE bomber. You can see, you can feel it's not firing as quick, but it does have firepower. Let's go hit the fogger and see what kind of damage we can do to it. All right. And when it gets to low power, it fires even slower. So I got its shields down by about 8% there. Not too bad. Everyone dancing around to fly back to the fogger for some reason. But they can see its shields are already recharging pretty quickly, so my initial pass is going to do bugger all because its shields will come back before my weapons are ready. This is why you need more ships. What can I do to the Star Destroyer, you might ask? Let's have a look. Oh look, I can't break past its shield past 2%. Not with lasers, anyway. Just for comparison, let's switch that to a TIE fighter. and we'll see what the TIE Fighter can do to the Frogger. Alright, here you go. I'm doing nothing. Maybe 4% there. But you can see how much slower the application of DPS was there. What a beautiful ship.
Your TIE bomber is not designed for heavy dogfighting.
Ooh, terrible voice acting. Okay. Interceptor. Let's have a look. Battle 1 Mission 4. This has also had a fairly significant change in how the flow goes. The Fogger itself will not be directly attacked anymore. The real problem will be the final part of the mission. 6 Y-Wings will come in and they will go for D-34. There will be no ability to intercept those torpedoes, so you need to stop the Y-Wings, otherwise their volley will kill the station. But the opening is more interesting, I'd say. And let's see how well the Interceptor gets on. So we might notice we've got a starship here now. This is the Gorash from from Mission 5 and 6. I wanted to give it a bit more of a roll this time. Right. Now remember, the Interceptor relies on its speed, so let's get its speed up, come about, whoa, and get killed. Let's see what kind of damage we're doing. Look at how quickly we took down that escort shuttle. And those aren't exactly lightweights either. What about an X-Wing? Dead. Right, let's quickly go and investigate the Slicer. I did increase its time, but we've got to get there quick. So we're going 150 meters a second. This is much faster than the base TIE Fighter Interceptor. And there we go. D-34 is now actively firing at you as well. Alright, let's go back to recharging. We can see the Frogger is going to end up dueling the Bolt Cruiser. The cruiser itself will immediately flee once it goes down to 50% shield, so you can't kill it. Let's go for this guy. You can see it does fire quite quickly, but look how rapidly my energy discharges. And it's not exactly fast picking back up. So if I accelerate, see how quickly, let's decelerate. Look at my speed, it takes a while. Slower, 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 dropping down, and then let's go maximum speed. There we go, nice acceleration. Its weapons are a lot weaker on low power. I say a lot weaker, noticeably weaker. So high power is where the real fun's at. But we've got new fighters now. Let's go and engage these new fighters. I'm going to speed things up a bit, get there quicker. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. There we go. Took his shields out in 1 shot, down in 2 shots. Dead in 1 shot, dead in 1 shot, dead in 1 shot. Now the Y-Wings are going to be the tankiest, so let's see what we can do to them. Oh god, he's going for me. That's what an A-Wing does. Dead. 3 shots to kill a Y-Wing. But let's get behind the Y-Wing and see how long it takes when we're going its own speed. So that took 3 shots, right? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Extra shot required. So probably about at least a 25-30% drop in firepower there. There we go, we saved the station, I think. Oh, they're still trying to disable it, so... Okay. There you go. So that's the Interceptor. Hopefully
Protect
a nice
the frigate Frogger from rebel attack.
demonstration
The escort
of what the Interceptor is capable of versus the fighter. The Gunboat. We're going to do this one. because Battle 1 Mission 5 has not really changed. The only thing that's changed in Battle 1 Mission 5 is that I've removed the containers you have to inspect, and I've added 2 more medium transports instead. Those are the 3 things. Those 3 medium transports are the things you need to inspect, and you can kill them for bonus points. So, Gunboat. Somewhat slower firing. Rapid firing ions. Let's see, put its shields to recharge to maximum. You can see we're charging up pretty quick. Let's go through the jump point quickly. Actually, let me do that because I want to show you. Because the ships are entering hyperspace quickly as well as exiting hyperspace quickly. So let's. There you go. Nice. Right. So here we go. Some slight change in positioning. The Gorash is over here now, and we'll do more active combat. Let's see how well. I just got hit by a missile but barely noticed it. So you can see its firepower's not as good as an Interceptor. Interceptor killed that in two shots really. Anyway, they're going for the Slicer, which does a pretty good job of defending itself. Right, let's... oh, I didn't arm my weapons. Oh, I was bugged out. Okay. I have no torpedoes. Yeah. That's alright, don't need them. I think my guys have got this. Yeah, you're no match for us. The interesting here, though, is the mines. What did I do with the mines? I had to recreate them from scratch. You can see they're a little bit more aggressive. But look at the kind of damage they're doing. They're doing very little damage, relatively speaking. But they don't die in one shot either. They have a small shield and a small amount of armor. And the idea in this one is that if there's enough critical mass to them, although they don't do a lot of individual damage, enough of them together will do a lot of damage to you. But let's call in our reinforcements, because whereas before you basically waited for the assault transports to arrive, now you have to call them in. So you are now, it's your discretion now whether you call the transports in immediately or later on in the mission, but remember you're under a time pressure because this ship will jump away. If you call those transports in straight away, you'll probably lose the mission because the mines will actually intercept the torpedoes, or rockets in this case. I've changed them to rockets because you need rocket firepower to beat this thing. It's so tanky. This thing has, I want to say, 30,000 hit points. So even torpedoes don't do a hell of a lot to it, but rockets will absolutely murder it. That's a cacophony of noise there. There's also 2 other methods to deal with the minefield. There's 4 satellites placed around the ship. And I'll demonstrate this with the mission editor, which I can't seem to... There we go. Let's get up this. I'll bring this up. So here's what we've just played. Here's our minefield, and we've got these satellites. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've tried to make this a more interesting element for the minefield itself, because there's only so much I can really do with the minefield, and I've always found mines boring. They're not particularly challenging, and they don't really add much to gameplay. So here, if you destroy all 4 of these satellites, you will disable the entire minefield without having to blow them up one by one. If you inspect all of the satellites, after a few seconds, the mines will turn against the rebels and start firing at them. So that gives you 3 ways to deal with the minefield. You can blow them up one by one, you can disable them all at once, and then destroy them at your leisure, or turn them against the enemy. Satellites are super weak, so they'll die in a couple of shots, so they can die to friendly fire. And I was toying with the idea of whether I actively give hints to whether you can do this or not, or whether this is something that the players can discover for themselves. And I think maybe just a slight hint. You know, if you accidentally end up inspecting one, then you get a radio message saying, hey, maybe you should inspect the others. But otherwise give no further indication that you know, like in the main briefing, that's a thing you can do. Because I think that's kind of cool to do for players to discover something that wasn't told to them. It's like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. So, yeah. Oh, there's no missile mines anymore either. I took those out because they're fucking annoying. Alright. Let's take a
Concentrate your fire on the slicer.
I thought we fixed that. I know we fixed that. Did I not install that fix? Okay. There is actually a fix for the audio levels of the briefings now, so they're not really loud compared to everything else. So what we've done everything. So we need to do the tie advance. I've already shown the tie advance, but let's have another go with it. It depends if I give you the same type of mines to deal with, Quiet Ranger. Oh, I'm flying a missile.
The most difficult task here is protecting the
let's do something else then. Well, actually, no, I can. What am I thinking? I can just change the bloody ship, can't I? It's late. I'm tired. What do you want from me? Right. I was testing something. That's why I was starting in the missile boat. But let's missile boat. This mission has received some changes as well, actually. This is the only other mission outside of Battle 1 I've actually done significant changes to. So, towards the end is where it's really noticeable. Zarin arrives with 4 gladiators, and I've made the gladiators basically missile cruisers. So they fire 4 assault concussion missiles. They're just a concussion missile launcher, but they do a fuck ton of damage. And they fire it quite rapidly. So they're basically capital killers, and they have insane range. They can fire like 8 kilometers away. So yeah, see, I can make capital ships more interesting as well. Right, let's see how quickly we can recharge shields. Look at my shields, look how quickly they go up. Right, let's put our nominal. So you can see the sort of shotgun approach. Let's get a good line up. Let's activate the beam weapon. And there we go. This thing does insane burst damage. In fact, if you remember what we did with the Interceptor and the fighter against this modified frigate, let's see what we can do with just one pass. But we'll also show the cooldown mechanic. So let's get in range and fire. Look at that, we dropped its shields to the same degree as an Interceptor, just like that. But notice how the laser bars go yellow. And how we're not firing very fast. It's just a second. But it matters. It means you can't apply sudden rapid DPS. But you can if you take energy from your shields. I'll demonstrate the mechanic a bit more and get away from all these explosions. Let's get further away. It's a bit loud in space, as you know. Sound travels in space. Right, let's get everything back up. Right. So that's what normal, but I can do this and watch the shields. So I have everything at maximum. And this is me dumping all my energy as much as I can into firing. It still stops at this point. It's better, but it stops. But you can see how much damage you can actually apply if you just suddenly drain all your shields. But remember, you have fragile shields. It's only 30 hit points. An X-Wing has more than this. You're barely as tanky as an A-Wing. So it's a choice on your part. You leave yourself defenseless in order to give yourself a huge burst of firepower. Can we test it on the modified frigate? We'll do it on our own so we don't, you know, get overwhelmed. Let's see what we can do to this modified frigate if we bump our weapons in. We got its shields down by 30% doing that. Now, it took us a while to get back up to that level. It'll take us half a minute. Let's see how much shield the Osprey can recharge, and by the time we get back to 200%. I'm not using time compression because time compression breaks this a little bit in terms of stuff, so I might have to disable that during normal play. But there we go. They got the shields up by about 12% at that time, so I could conceivably blow the ship up. It would take a few passes, but it's doable. So it's also very fast, even at you've still got 113 meters a second, even with everything at max charge, so you're not left defenseless. If we put all powered engines, almost 190, and it's so fast. If I go to optimum maneuverability, look how fast this thing is. It's a dance. That's what I like to think of this now.
The most difficult task here is protecting the interdictor hub.
Alright, there's that. TIE Defender, because I haven't got much time left. Let's go through the TIE Defender. Ooh. Tell you what, it's nice to have all this ray tracing stuff on. I couldn't have that on before with my old computer. Right, so I've got to remember I cannot link my lasers and ions together. We can still fire quite fast. Remember, we're doing something like 8.5 hit points damage a second with one laser. And I just melted that TIE advance. So this mission is not balanced. This fleet battle is probably quite out of whack right now with the new balance. It actually held up fairly well, but it is definitely a bit out of balance now. Let's see if we can get a better zoom. I am probably going to remove this ship type, the Decimator, and the Rebel X4 gunship. I basically threw them in as, when I first developed the mod, as sort of, oh, I'll add those and find something to do with them. But I've only included them in one mission each, and I'm just feeling they don't really fit anywhere. Because we never see them again, so I might just remove them. There we go. Look at how much damage it took. I want to kill a TIE advance though, because we need to protect this ship, don't we? So the Defender is pretty fast still. It's not as fast as the Advanced. Let's see. One shot. Right. About the ions. So the ion cannon fire is slow, but remember you're doing 15 hit points of damage per shot on the ion cannon. Let's get a closer look at the battle, shall we? Let's face tank something. See how I get hit by a missile? It doesn't do much to me anymore. Put our shields to maximum. Right, so the Predator there is the most powerful ship in the game, pretty much. Its heavy lasers, heaviest turbo lasers can actually kill me in one shot, so I'm not going to face tank that. It's the only thing that can kill a Defender in one shot. Let's see. Remember, capital ship weapons are a lot more powerful now. We're alright. Let's come about. Slow down and let it hit us. remember now with starships there's a degree of inaccuracy to their fire, so there's a spread. So their fire will not be very accurate against you. Now that's a cool shot. That is a cool shot. One interesting thing is that I have to actually change how, for example, so you see how fast the AI, sorry, the Advanced is firing its weapons?
This mission will take all of your...
The AI ignores your energy pool, so it can fire endlessly. So I had to actually give the AI a separate profile so they don't fire as fast as you would be able to fire, but they do a bit more damage to compensate, so... Right,
skills as a
have
pilot,
much time,
and you will face a large number of...
Because I don't have much time, I'm going to quickly go to the Defender. It's not the Defender, the missile boat. And we'll do that by going to a Reimagined mission that is in development still. I have shown this one off before a couple of times, but let's see what kind of damage the missile boat can do. Yes, I know, it's a bug. Actually, I'm going to leave the cockpit on for this one because I like the missile boat cockpit and it shows me a lot of stuff. Beautiful. Right. Let's go. Shall turn the cockpit back on for this. So we've got advanced concussion, advanced torpedoes. Alright, let's... This mission has not been changed since I've done the rebalance, so this is also now out of whack. Because the capital ships are engaging each other at maximum range, and the destroyer is absolutely murdering the frigate, which, you know, arguably as it should. But let's pump some firepower into the dreadnought here. Hey, that's not nice. Let's go slam. There we go. How fun's that? You're face tanking and launching torpedoes. Let's try the strike cruiser. Oh. Yeah, well, no. I'm still going at slam speed. You can see if you look at my laser energy, it's dropping very slowly. So I can go for a while. But then let's disengage and see how quickly it takes to recharge at maximum level. And this is what the laser looks like right now. It fires very quickly. You can fire it for quite a while. Does a fair amount of damage. They're being attacked by lots of fire advance. So let's see how fast we can do a missile at them. Yes, we can fire that rapidly. Let's do it more than something else. That'll do. We can target this guy. And see how good the fire rate is. That to me is how the missile boat should feel, that you're just spewing firepower. It's faster for missiles than it is for torpedoes. But look, you can just, if we go up to slam speed, use our remaining torpedoes, we can just do this, 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 and so forth. But you still got to be intelligent with your firepower. We don't have enough torpedoes here to kill everything. But, yeah. Good stuff. Oh, the ion cannons being purple is a bug. Don't worry, it's easily fixed. So yes, there we go. I have demonstrated to you some of the rebalance. Hopefully, you enjoyed it. You can there's positive feedback from this. The plan is to excuse me. The plan is to make this public for testing in excuse me, a couple of weeks or so, maybe 2 to 4 weeks. I'm just waiting for further feed because I've only just given the latest build of this rebalance a couple of days ago, so I'm waiting for a bit more feedback first. But I think it's in a pretty good position that I'm prepared to open it up for the public to have a go, and so I can get more feedback before I start going through the rest of the missions and then continuing on with developing the remaining Reimagined missions, because this didn't take a lot of time. Okay, the whole project so far has cost me 4 months of work. Most of that was actually just building this nonsense and understanding and testing and refining, and now I've got that implemented. The hard work is really done now. Now it's a case of tweaking the numbers, getting everything in the right place. And actually restructuring these missions does not take a lot of time at all. I can do this in a day in terms of restructuring a mission. I can gut the combat of a mission and rebuild it in a day. It's not that hard for me anymore. So I'll do a comparison of Battle 1 Mission 2 and how it looks visually with an older version. We'll use the 1.3.4 version. So if we look at the flight group differences here, you can see how I've split things a lot more, particularly with the Rebels and the Mugari. On the right-hand side, you can see you've got 3x4, so that's 3 waves of 4 craft. The wingman, the flight leader determines the target that they're going for, and their wingman will go for the same target. So this kind of creates a situation where you have several of these groups and they have the same target. They all death ball together. And it looks a little silly sometimes, and it's a bit overpowered as well, because that death ball will just start murdering everything if it's big enough. So by separating them out into single waves and smaller flight groups for the most part, exceptions for bombers where you want big bomber waves, it allows you to further refine what each flight group is doing, so they can go for different targets. And so they, instead of balling up, they go spreading out more, and it makes the fight spread out and looks a lot more dynamic and a lot more natural looking. So yeah, doing that does not take me a lot of time at all. It might be a bit more time consuming for the more complex missions later on in Reimagined, but yeah, assuming this goes well, I think probably a couple of months to 3 months to fully rebalance the remaining Reimagined stuff. And then I can continue going on developing the remaining Reimagined missions. And this whole project has given me a huge boost in motivation to do it, because I'm finally being able to implement the vision that I really wanted to implement in the first place. And now I can. So yeah, good things are happening. So yeah, I'll just have a quick look at the chat, because I've just been ranting and talking and nothing much. Okay, I'm glad at least a couple of you are happy with what you've seen. And I know, Nicholas, you're on the beta testing team, so you know all this already. But yeah, I'm gonna call it a night there now. It's late. I have to walk the dog and go to bed, and my wife, I'm sure, wants to go to bed as well. But hopefully you enjoyed my ramblings. It was informative, and I look forward to seeing you next time and chatting to you all on Discord. So have a good night. Fly safe.